Welcome back, Hodlers. Today we're going to go over what happened last week in crypto. Let's go ahead and get into it. Before we get into it, go ahead and give me a like. Really appreciate it. Really helps these videos get shared out. Also, subscribe to the channel if you want more crypto news and content. Obviously, we do a lot of reviews, a lot of TA, and a lot of news. So let's go ahead and get into the video. The first article that I wanted to talk about is Charles Hoskinson responds to some critics of Cardano. Now, keep in mind, I want to be very specific here. I've said this numerous times that we can't be too impatient with certain projects, especially when they have a big peer review process behind them like Cardano does. There's a lot that goes into making sure these updates are well done out and well thought out and implemented in the right way, unlike maybe some other protocols and projects. If we are going to get a system that has some sort of change, we would rather like that change to be a scientific change. In terms of, say, Bitcoin is elegant because it's never going to change. It's always going to be what Bitcoin is. There is no want or need or team looking to change Bitcoin. But if there was a team looking to change Bitcoin, we would hope that they'd be writing peer-reviewed articles and making sure that everything was ready before implementing it. Because at the end of the day, this is the future of monetary policy. So I understand the criticism. They're talking about how we don't have any assets. We don't have 1,000 dApps running on the Cardano system. We don't even have one dApp running on the system, but we have dApps that are being talked about. Something like Sunday Swap and everything else. Now, of course, a 1-year prediction is a little bit lofty for Cardano, or for any cryptocurrency. We see Ethereum 2.0 getting delayed. Even EIP 1559 has been getting delayed over and over. So really, delays are fairly normal in the space, but something like Cardano, I would actually welcome a delay to make sure that everything is done right, for the most part. But the reality is the system isn't at its full capacity yet. It's not at its full growth. And we saw that by the Cardano Foundation doing their video talking about their goals in the next couple of years, onboarding Fortune 500 companies. And to be honest, the goals didn't seem all that super lofty. I thought they're pretty attainable with where they could go. But at the same time, where Cardano is going to go is going to be the future. Now, obviously, Charles did respond to this in a brief update about Alonzo. But I think people need to really recognize and remember that things are going to take time, especially with a good protocol like Cardano. And right now, we're not in any big threat of Cardano getting risks of competitors coming around and snatching Cardano's lunch. We're more like that to, say, Ethereum. But let's hope that we can actually do something once Alonzo comes out, because we know that we have a lot of decentralized apps coming out into the forefront. And I think a lot of developers are going to choose to move to Cardano rather than stay on the platforms that they're already on. In other news, more Bitcoin related and Bitcoin power related specifically, we've discussed Bitcoin's power and the energy efficiency. But we also see that a New York power plant is actually resorting to put excess energy through to mine Bitcoin. Now, I don't think this is a bad thing at all, because right now our big problem with energy is storing the energy. Our issue isn't necessarily generating the energy and making sure that we have enough for the power grid. It's storing it for the times that we can't make enough for the power grid. It's just storing excess energy that we are able to achieve just by getting excess energy. So obviously we want a way to store that, but we can't. Well, Bitcoin is actually a way to store energy because, of course, money is energy. That's exactly what money is. So yes, we can store energy, hypothetical energy, in some way, shape, or fashion by mining Bitcoin. Now, we saw this as well with things like oil sands and everything else, burning off the excess oil to mine Bitcoin. There is nothing wrong with these practices. I mean, we're already burning the fossil fuel. It's already going into our atmosphere anyway. It might as well make some Bitcoin while it's at it. That's how I feel about it, regardless of how much of this energy is clean and how much of it isn't. I would suspect that a lot of it, being in New York, a lot of it, a good amount, is hydro. But there is probably a lot of other energy sources that are going on to this. But I'm perfectly fine with excess energy be diverted into Bitcoin, because it's a great way to at least do something with that energy rather than just have it dissipate into nothing. In further Bitcoin news, we do see Paraguay is looking to make Bitcoin a legal tender, and they are going to sit on July 14th to discuss that bill specifically to see if they can actually do this and make Bitcoin legal tender. And I really think that this is a big move from what El Salvador did, making Bitcoin legal tender there. Now, I know that there's some hesitancy from El Salvadorian people, whether or not Bitcoin is this real thing, and that makes total sense to me. Their leader seems like a fairly young guy, so for him, it's easy to get. But for some generations, Bitcoin is a little bit harder to understand, but it can be understood fairly easily once there's good education programs out to explain exactly what Bitcoin is. So I'm confident that they're not going to have a problem, El Salvador specifically, and I'm also confident that countries like Paraguay are going to do well as well, especially if they're able to pass this bill and basically make Bitcoin legal tender. I think that would be hugely bullish on where they're going. This also includes countries that are looking for adoption like Argentina. We've been hearing about them in the news. Venezuela was an obvious one because of their currency meltdown. I could also see some countries in the Middle East, most likely Lebanon, picking up Bitcoin. So let's go ahead and talk about the charts. Bitcoin is currently sitting at $33,917. We're still trading within our level of 42,000 to 32,000. Not much has changed, but if you look at the daily, we have clearly coiled up. And I know I talked about this before, and I said, it doesn't look like we're coiling, or we most likely won't be coiling up and making a decisive action for a little while. But it's very clear now that we are coiling up at this point. But it's very clear now that we are actually coiling up at this point, and we are going to make a decisive move, maybe to the upside or to the downside. Now, I have said this before. I just want everyone to be prepared. It doesn't mean that we are going to decisively make a move to the upside. In fact, I would probably say there's an equal chance that we do make a big move to the downside and stay below our 50-week moving average. And if we look at here, we'll go to the weekly chart, move over to our 50-week. So we've only been below the 50-week for a few times, one being here after 2017, and then the other one here. Now, we aren't currently below the 50-week at this point, but it is likely that we could make a move similar to this, bounce below the 50-week, and then eventually move back up. I did some calculations a little while ago, and I would see, in my best estimate, that the bull market re-engages. I would probably guess that will be around July of 2022. And I know that's a way far out there speculation, but I looked at the times below the 50-week, and they correlate pretty well with how this works. So obviously, Bitcoin could be on a path to make a decisive action in the near term. And we are also 8 hours away from our weekly close, which I think at this point, we can expect that it will close in the red, obviously. But where that will go in the near term or on the daily chart, where we're going to enter. But where we're going to go on the near term is really anyone's guess. My best estimate at this point is most likely we'll have one more shot down. Not too bad, but just something to retest our 30K. And then eventually we will make our build up back up to where we need to be. But I do think that this is not going to be an overnight type of thing. I think Bitcoin is just going to trade like this for a while. But just remember that buying Bitcoin around this level, around the 50-week moving average, has always ended up being a good decision. So I would absolutely recommend, if you aren't already getting into Bitcoin, I would be getting into Bitcoin right now. And I'd even say Bitcoin over some altcoins at this point, purely because of where Bitcoin can go, and we'll often see Bitcoin pump before altcoins pump. So maybe it's an opportunity to buy some Bitcoin and then roll those profits into altcoins once Bitcoin goes on a tear. The total crypto market cap is currently sitting at $1.38 trillion, so just shy of $1.4 trillion. Ethereum hasn't done much since the announcements for EIP in August. That's coming here in a couple of weeks. So I do think whatever price we will get for Ethereum will be baked in, and the volatility on that day will just be trading volatility, people trading the news. But ultimately, you want to make your bet before then. And just as a reminder, there are plenty of KSM auctions to go out to. So obviously, you could pick up some of your KSM and offer that to the crowdfunding options. Me, myself, I have entered the Moonriver crowdfunding solution. So that's where I am right now. But that's it for me. Hopefully, this video helped you guys in understanding where the market is during this week. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. And of course, happy hodling.